Before you are the elements of the last week of Jesus' human life. We offer this on Good Friday, the day that we speak of Jesus' death and burial, the events that led up to it, but also that hope that shines all the way through it. The words that Jesus spoke even himself, that even after he was crucified, dead, and buried, he would be raised. And so as we look at the most painful, difficult, horrible time in Jesus' life, abandoned by his friends, denied, rejected, beaten, literally killed, there is always that glimmer of life that is to come, that God is in charge. And God's love and God's grace and, yes, resurrection is greater even than what we know as our human death. But here you see upon the table palm branches. For the week started with crowds shouting, Hosanna, throwing their cloaks on the ground before Jesus, throwing branches from trees, making the path for Jesus to ride into Jerusalem. Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. That was the beginning of the week, and then various Gospels tell us different stories about whether he threw the folk out of the temple, the money changers in the temple, whether he told parables, whether all the way he spent that week preparing his followers for what he knew was coming. Most especially that last time that he would gather at table with them. Not a feast of 4,000 or 5,000 in a miracle feeding, but rather an intimate gathering. An intimate gathering with those closest to him, in which he would say the words that we now speak centuries later every time we come to table. For in that meal he took bread, gave thanks to God, and broke it open, and said, "This is my body, broken for you. Take and eat, and remember me." And he also took a cup filled with the juice from the life-giving grapes. He said, "This is the cup of the new covenant, poured out in my lifeblood. Just as the life was squeezed from these grapes, so Jesus' lifeblood would be squeezed from him, poured out, so that we might know forgiveness and new beginnings. That even in his brokenness, a life broken open for us, and yes, bloodshed, that it would not end there. For our saving comes in the new life that was to come. But these last hours of Jesus' life were so difficult, because they left that meal, they left that table already with hints of what would happen. Judas would leave that meal and go to those who were so prepared to get rid of Jesus, those threatened by Jesus. And he would take from them 30 pieces of silver. That money that would show him as the betrayer, the one filled with such evil, hate, we don't know what. Luke says Satan entered him in an attempt to shut Jesus down. But they left that meal. And Judas went to betray him. And the end was beginning. Jesus left that meal to go do what he often did, which was pray. To to pour out his heart before God, to hope that, yes, even this cup might pass from him. There were a couple of disciples nearby. He'd taken them with him, and what did they do but fall asleep? Jesus had that time with God to prepare himself for the difficult times ahead, the painful times ahead, the life-taking times ahead, knowing that that was his path to follow. And so, he left prayer and went down to where the crowd was gathering, where Judas had brought the soldiers. And there he was arrested. Judas had betrayed him with a kiss. It is said even that one of his followers grabbed a sword and took the ear off of one of those there to capture him. But Jesus healed them. Jesus healed them and said, this is not what we are about. This is not what we are about. Not life-taking and inflicting pain, but life-giving and healing. And so he went with the soldiers. Went with the soldiers, and his time of trial began. He was taken to the home of the high priest, and there in the courtyard, Peter had followed. And one approached him saying, you are one of his followers. You know him. And Peter denied him. Peter denied knowing him. Even though it ate away at the inside of him, Peter denied knowing him. And that too was one of those steps towards the end of Jesus' life, when those around him would betray and deny him. Then he was taken before first Herod. Herod was thrilled to see him because he was been out to get him for a long time. And so Herod began to mock him. His soldiers threw a robe on him, put a crown upon his head, a crown of thorns, and said, you must be royalty, for you say you are the king of the Jews. Herod then cast him off into Pilate's hands. Pilate wasn't sure what to do with him. It's your problem, Herod. No, it's your problem, Pilate. And back and forth again. Who do you say you are? Are you king of the Jews? Jesus said, that too you say I am. And back and forth they went. Pilate trying to figure out something to do. In fact, even Pilate went to the crowd that had shouted, Hosanna in the highest, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. He went to that crowd and said, there's a tradition that I am to release one captive during this Passover time. One prisoner should be freed. Should it be? Who should it be? Who should it be? And the crowd began to shout for Barabbas, a known criminal. Pilate said, but here's Jesus who's committed no crime. And the crowd's response was, crucify him. Crucify him. Crucify him. It was common practice in those days to execute criminals on a cross, two beams put together so that they might hang. You've seen them. You know what a crucifix looks like. Jesus' body spread out. The thing was, you also had to carry your own cross to the place of crucifixion. Jesus had begun to carry his, but soon he fell under the weight, for he had been whipped and beaten and mocked and spit upon. all the horrors of that time, trying to prove that he was less than God, less than human, shouting at him, "Oh, King of the Jews, save yourself." Under the weight of all that, both physical, spiritual, emotional, every kind of pain there could have been. And so as he fell, the soldiers brought over one named Simon of Cyrene, to help Jesus carry that cross. And soon together they reached the top of the mountain where they were to be killed. They, Jesus, and other criminals there together. It is said that there were a criminal on either side, one who mocked him like the others and said, "He must be a criminal, there's nothing, that's why else would you be here with us?" And the other said, "You do not deserve to be here. I know who you are. And you are not like us. You have committed no crime." And Jesus turned to that one and said, this day, you will be with me in paradise. After the two criminals had become silent, Jesus was there. He asked for something to drink. He gave him vinegar on a sponge. It exacerbated the pain and the mockery. Not wine to dull him, but this strange mixture of pain and suffering. The robe of mocked royalty, a crown, but one that stuck into his head. And then a drink, not to dull the pain or to end the thirst, but to exacerbate the pain. But Jesus did not stop being who he was. As they threw lots for his clothes, as they continued to mock him, saying, "Save yourself, save us, O King, O Great One," as they continued to torment him, Jesus said, "God, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." Jesus continued to be who he was. And then at last his body gave up. His body gave up. And he died, saying, "It is finished. And into your hands, O God, do I lift my spirit." Now it is said that a follower of Jesus, a rather wealthy man named Joseph of Arimathea, went and asked the powers that be for Jesus' body, and then took that body and placed him in a tomb. It was growing dark. They couldn't complete the preparation for burial because it was the Sabbath. And so after Joseph had placed him into the tomb, everything was closed. And they left, waiting and wondering. The light of Christ still shines on this table. Because even in the darkness of death, the light of Christ still shines. Even in those days of waiting, of thinking perhaps the end had come. Because we sit on this side of Easter, we know that even with all this pain and angst, even with all this hatred and violence, God's word is stronger. Easter is coming. We know not when, we know not how. We believe. And so, we wait. Will you pray with me? Oh God, we do not like waiting. We want easy and simple answers. And yet here, faced with the powerful story of the end of Jesus' human life, we know that what you call us to do is to wait. To listen, to hold fast to one another, to see ourselves for who we are, those who deny, betray, and run away. Jesus forgave us, even those who did horrible things to him. Jesus remained himself, offering words of forgiveness, even from the cross. So, O God, we ask you to forgive us and our world. On this time of Good Friday, may we learn how to wait, no matter how long it takes, believing and trusting and hoping, trusting in you that the light of Easter will come. The light of Easter will come. Help us in our doubt. Help us in our unbelief. Help us in our waiting. O God of all, we wait.